Yanez Bohoric, Slovenia. Gahendra Venkandari, India. Dr. Gary A. Anderson, United States. Douglas X. Alexander, United States. And Humano E. Acosta, United States. Lions, please recognize our first-year directors and their spouses. The second-year directors are completing their service on the board, and they have served with great passion and purpose. J. Carl Young, Canada. Judge Eames H. Townsend, United States. Michael S. Zoe, Philippines. Jerry Smith, United States. Ann K. Smart, United States. Richard Sawyer, United States. Daniel A. O'Reilly, United States. Dr. Domenico Messina, Italy. Ahmed Olegbenga Babaji Lawal, Nigeria. Horst P. Kirchgatterer, Austria. Beyond Get Kim, Republic of Korea. Ronald S. Johnson, United States. Carlos A. Ibanez, Panama. KPA Haroon, India. Yasumasa Furo, Japan. Gary B. Diorzio, United States. And please recognize our second-year directors and their spouses. The executive officers of Lions Clubs International have committed themselves to service for many years. They embody the We Serve ideal. Lions, please meet the executive officers of Lions Clubs International and their spouses. Second International Vice President, Wayne A. Madden and his wife Linda of the United States. First International Vice President, Wing Tong Tam, Hong Kong, China. Immediate past International President, Eberhard J. Bierz and his wife Margette of Germany. And welcome once again, our International President, Sid L. Scruggs III and his wife Judy of the United States.
Thank you so much. Quite a bunch, aren't they? Thank you. We know that we don't become Lions to receive awards, certificates, or really applause from anybody. What we really do is we get our award for the satisfaction of knowing that we have changed a life. Sometimes the reward is a smile. It's always a handshake and simple words of gratitude like, thank you. However, it's important that we recognize those people that have made a difference. And today we're going to recognize not only Lions, but clubs and districts for extraordinary service. Everyone needs a role model. We need benchmarks to measure our success about. We need to set goals to be able to reach those goals and then set even higher goals. We need to be encouraged. The great things we've done by others can inspire us to achieve even more and greater things. This year, I developed the Beacon Awards. Awards that show that we have shined our beacon of hope to many people around the world. We have received many outstanding nominations in 5 categories, and I would like to recognize each one for outstanding contribution. Unfortunately, we can only honor the best of the best, but in any competition, when we are serving others, there are no losers, only those that have excelled. And so, let's get started and see who those people are that have excelled in those 4 or 5 categories of service.
The finalists for Best Hunger Relief Program or Activity, Logger District are Istanbul, Beklavasi, Lions Club, Feeding the Poor, and Job Training, District 118Y, Turkey. Maracino, Valley Lions Club, School Breakfast Program for Malnourished Students, District 301, D2, Philippines. Bakersfield Lions Club, lending a hand after disaster strikes, District 19G, Washington, USA. And the award goes to Istanbul, Beglerbasi Lions Club, Feeding the Poor and Job Training District 118Y, Turkey.
And the next category?
And the finalists for the Best Environmental Project, Club or District are Pompeii Lions Club, revitalization of the source of the stream, Goethe District, LC4, Brazil. San Diego Brotherhood Lions Club, Earth Day, America Going Green, District 4, L6, California, USA. Rama Lions Club, Tree of Life Project, District LD6, Brazil. And the award goes to Umuarama Lions Club, Tree of Life Project, District LD6, Brazil.
Let's get a group shot here. And the next category.
The finalists for the most creative youth program activity club or district are Canale de Ursha Lions Club Youth Forum of the Power of Knowledge in Combating Drugs and Sexually Transmitted Diseases, District LA5, Brazil. Garber Lions Club Community Youth Forum, District 3A, Oklahoma. Cotacanaveral City Lions Clubs, Drug and Smoking Awareness Discussion and Self-Defense Lesson, District 308A2, Malaysia. And the award goes to the Garber Lions Club Community Youth Forum, District 3A, Oklahoma. Service to the blind or visually impaired, club or district are Baguio City Host Lions Club, I Run Costair, District 301C, Philippines. Bansaida Lions Club, World Sight Day Low Vision, and Trachoma Screenings, District 403B, Central African Republic. Uapor Lions Club, Mobile Eye Hospital Unit, District LD7, Brazil. And the award goes to Baguio City Host Lions Club, I Run Costair, District 301C, Philippines.
But first, we have a very special performance for you. This year we made an extra effort in providing special music for you in each of the plenary sessions, and today is no exception. Today we have a very gifted entertainer, Mr. Gordon Moe. Gordon is an example of a person that doesn't have to lack vision just because they don't have sight. Gordon had a vision. He had a vision to become a songwriter and recording star. And today, he is living his vision and his dream. From Nashville, Tennessee, please welcome the very talented singer-songwriter, Mr. Gordon Moe.
Good looking crowd for a Thursday morning. All right, here we go. Well. Jerry, if I can hear a little piano up here, that'd be great. Well, I've got good news to bring. Come on up. That is why I say, hey y'all, all my joy. With you I'm gonna share.
Forbes magazine. Condoleezza Rice is the only child of a high school teacher and a high school guidance counselor and Presbyterian minister. Young Condoleezza aspired to be a concert pianist. However, in college, her interest in the Soviet Union and international relations sent her on a different career path. After earning a PhD in political science and serving as a professor and provost of Stanford University, Rice began to work in global affairs for the U.S. government. In 2000, she was named National Security Advisor, the first woman ever to hold that position. In 2005, she was the first African-American woman ever selected as Secretary of State. Today, Rice is a professor of political economy in the Graduate School of Business at Stanford University. While never becoming a professional concert pianist, Rice has played at many important events, including a performance for Queen Elizabeth II and a public performance with world-famous cellist Yo-Yo Ma. Lions and Leos, please welcome our 2011 keynote speaker, Condoleezza Rice.
President and Mrs. Scruggs dancing their way onto the stage, but decided not to try to compete myself in doing so. It's a pleasure to be here with you, the Lions Club, for your 94th annual convention. I want to thank International President Scruggs, immediate past International President Wirfs, Vice President Tam, Vice President Madden, the Board of Directors, the Lions and the Leos. Ladies and gentlemen. I'm especially gratified to be in the presence not just of the Lions Club members and leaders from here in the United States, but from the many leaders that I have met from all over the world. This is truly now a wonderful international organization, and thank you for your work. Now, I have been asked many times, what is it like now that you are out of government? And indeed, I have been out of government for 2.5 years now. And I can tell you there is one really big difference. I get up in the morning, I get my newspaper, I read it, I say, isn't that interesting? And I go right on to whatever else I'm doing because I no longer have to do anything about what's in the newspaper. But indeed, I am, as you are, concerned about the state of our world and indeed the state of the United States of America. And I am often reminded in these difficult and troubling times that we have to remember that today's headlines and history's judgment are rarely the same. When I was Secretary of State, I kept 4 portraits of Secretaries of State near me to remind me that today's headlines and history's judgment are rarely the same. Because you see, if you are too concerned about today's headlines, then you will not take the difficult decisions that you have to make in order to deal with. Secretaries of State that I kept was Thomas Jefferson. Okay, everybody kept Thomas Jefferson. He was the first Secretary of State. He was a founding father. He was, I think, a slightly overrated founding father. I myself prefer Alexander Hamilton, but that's another talk that we can have someday. I also kept George Marshall, probably the greatest Secretary of State of all time. The man who single-handedly saved 2 million starving Europeans and ushered the United States into post-war leadership. I kept Dean Acheson. When Dean Acheson left the position of Secretary of State, the only thing that was on anyone's mind was who lost China. But today, Dean Acheson is remembered as the founding father of NATO and the foundational institutions that led to victory in the Cold War. And I kept William Seward. Now, why would anybody keep William Seward? Well, you see, William Seward bought Alaska. Now, when William Seward bought Alaska and he came back to testify before the Congress, his hearings were just brutal. They said, how could you pay $7 million to the Tsar of Russia for that icebox? In fact, it was called Seward's Icebox and Seward's Folly. But a few years ago, I was talking with the man who was then the Russian defense minister, and he said, oh, Condi, he said, I was just in Alaska. It is so beautiful. He said, it reminds me of Russia. I said, Sergei, it used to be Russia. We're awfully glad that Seward bought Alaska. Today's headlines and history's judgment are rarely the same. And so, what do we need to do to ensure history's judgment? Well, first and foremost, we have to defend ourselves. And that's not so easy. Every day, the terrorists plot and they plan. That there is not just a moral case for democracy, there is a practical case for democracy too. And we are seeing it play out in the streets of Cairo and Tunis and across the world. And woman and child desires. It is indeed a demand for dignity. And woman and child desires. It is indeed a demand for dignity. Here, in democracy, will be better than the silence of tyranny. Because authoritarianism is not stable and it is not. But as I look around the world and I see the rising voices, the faces of people insisting on their freedom, as I was fortunate enough to be the Soviet specialist at the end of the Cold War, and it really doesn't get much better than that. I got to be there for the liberation of Eastern Europe and the unification of Germany and ultimately the breakdown of the Soviet Union itself. What of our own great democracy here in the United States of America? Because without the strength of our democracy, without our confidence, without our optimism, it will be hard for us to lead. And what of that democracy? We all know the picture in the economy, and we all know that we need to put people back to work, we need to reaffirm private sector-led growth, we need to find a way for the economy to heal. But I want to talk to you about something that is much more the essence of who we are. When you are Secretary of State, you get to go around the world, and you get to see what people like about the United States and what they don't. You get to see what they admire and respect and what they don't. And sometimes people are somewhat resentful of our military power, although they're awfully glad that there are American men and women who volunteer to do those hardline jobs at the front lines of freedom. And sometimes people are a bit resentful of our economic prowess and our cultural penetration. But there is one thing that people universally admire, and that is what I call the great American national myth. It is the log cabin. It is our belief that it doesn't matter where you came from, it matters where you're going. It is the belief that you can come from humble circumstances and you can do great things. And that has led people to come here for generations from all over the world just to be a part of that experiment. Just to believe and do the hard work so that they can be a part of a society that believes that it doesn't matter where you came from, it matters where you're going. That has led the most ambitious people to come here, and sometimes it's been the guy who's come here to make $5, not 50 cents. And sometimes it's been somebody like Sergey Brin, whose parents brought him here at 7 years old from Russia, and he founded Google. But they are cut of the same cloth. They are ambitious, they are risk-taking, and they enrich us. This is a country of immigrants. We have to reaffirm that we are a country of immigrants, because it is our immigrants that revitalize us. It is our immigrants that revitalize us. It is our immigrants that keep us from the sclerotic demographics of Europe. We are a nation that has brought the best and the brightest here to us. But you know, it's not enough for that American dream to be available to those who come here. It has to be available to those who are here too. And you know, we all have our family heroes, and President Scruggs mentioned that I wrote a book about my family called Extraordinary Ordinary People. Well, the Rices and the Rays were in many ways ordinary people. My mom was a school teacher. Now, to be sure, one of her first students at Fairfield Industrial High School in Alabama was Willie Mays. And I asked Willie Mays if he remembered my mother, and he said, oh yes, he said, I remember Miss Gray, which was her maiden name. He said, because she told me, son, you're gonna be a ball player. And if you need to leave class a little bit early to practice, you go right ahead and do that. Now, to be fair, that doesn't sound like my mother, but I believe Willie Mays. My mother was a school teacher. My dad was a high school guidance counselor, a football coach, Presbyterian minister on the weekends. He had a lot of jobs. But my parents, these ordinary people, were extraordinary in their dedication to one strong belief. If you could get an education, you could do anything. And that belief came from deep inside our family, and one of my family heroes is my grandfather on my father's side. I love to tell his story. His name was John Wesley Rice Sr., and John Wesley Rice Sr. was a sharecropper's son in Utah. That would be E-U-T-A-W, I'm not kidding, Alabama. Now, when John Wesley Rice Sr. was about 19 years old, he decided to get book learning. So he went to he asked people where a colored man could go to college, and they said he could go to Little Stillman College, a Presbyterian school, about 30 miles away. And so he saved up his cotton, and he went off to college. And after 1 year, they said, so how are you going to pay for your second year? And he said he didn't have any more cotton, he didn't have any more money. And they said, well, you're out of luck. But thinking quickly, he said, so how are those boys going to college? And they said, well, you see, they have what's called a scholarship. And if you wanted to be a Presbyterian minister, then you could have a scholarship too. My granddaddy said, you know, that's exactly what I had in mind. And my family has been Presbyterian and college educated ever since. John Wesley Rice Sr. knew something. He knew that education was going to transform him into somebody he might otherwise never have been. He knew that with that college education, he was going to pass it on to my father and to my father's sister and to generations to come. But I want to ask you a question. In today's America, when I can look at your zip code and I can tell whether or not you're going to get a good education, can I still say that it doesn't matter where you came from, it matters where you're going? I don't think so. The crisis in K-12 education in this country may indeed be our greatest national security threat. It's a threat not just because we will have generations of people who are unemployable. We will have that. If you can't read by the time you're in 3rd grade, you probably won't read. So we're losing a generation of kids, not every 18 years, every 3 or 4. And it is a tragedy that those unemployable people will be wards of the state, wards of the federal government, wards of welfare, wards of a handout. But the greatest tragedy may be not that we will be unable to employ people. And by the way, defend ourselves. Do you know that only 30% of the people who take the basic skills test to get into the military can pass it? We have a crisis. But we will have a crisis also in who we are. Because we're not held together by blood or ethnicity or nationality or religion. We're held together by that belief that it doesn't matter where you came from. And if that's ever not true for some of our people, then the fabric of the society will come apart. And so we have a crisis. But we have marvelous ways to address our problems. And today, sitting here with you, the Lions Club, we have evidence of the strongest way that we address our problems. There is a paradox about the United States of America. That paradox is that we are the most individualistic people in the world. We think of ourselves as individual. We think of the power of the individual. We think of the rights of the individual. But we are also, it is in the United States of America that philanthropy finds its greatest expression. I teach at Stanford University. Stanford University was once the farm of Senator and Mrs. Stanford. They gave it so that it could be a great university. Americans give of their resources and they give of their time to make life better for those who are weaker than themselves. We have in organizations like this evidence of one of democracy's greatest supporters, civil society, organizations that are not government, organizations that are groups of private citizens who give of their time, their resources, who volunteer, who make certain that there is a hand up for the weakest and that they themselves are that hand. These Americans do it not for the government, not for the state, but for the good of the society and the community as a whole. And it is a powerful force. And I'm happy to say that that powerful force is spreading across the globe as well. Not only are there Lions clubs across the world, but there are Salvation Armies across the world. And there are Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts across the world. And there are civic societies that are forming the foundation for strong democracies. Without volunteers, without philanthropy, without the care of civil society, democracy can't flourish. It can't flourish because it has to depend on the state to help those who need help. And the state can do many. And you know, in delivering compassion, in delivering care, in delivering the message, you are not alone. We do something not just for those that we're helping, but we do something for ourselves too. There is no more damaging force in any society than a sense of entitlement. Entitlement means that you have lost control. What are they going to do for me? They don't do enough for me. Why haven't they given it to me? I learned as a child in Birmingham, Alabama, in the most segregated big city in America, from parents who believed it strongly, that actually you may not be able to control your circumstances, but you can control your response to your circumstances. And if you are entitled, you give up that control. And oh, by the way, it's not long after entitlement shows up that his twin brother, aggrievement, shows up. And aggrievement is even more damaging, because then it is poor me. Why don't I have more? Why do they have so much? And then the fabric just starts to break down. And so you see, as beneficial as it is to have citizens who will reach out and lend a hand and help those who have less than they do, as beneficial as it is to those who are helped, it is even more beneficial to the society and to those who actually do help. Because when you see the condition of somebody who has so much less, you can't help but say, thank God that I have what I have, and how dare I complain. Complaint and entitlement are disempowering of individuals, of societies, of democracies. Because we are so vibrant in a place like this, because you're good deep to the shores of many, many lands, I find myself with great optimism that despite our problems, we will prevail. We'll defend the country and we'll advocate for democracy. We'll declare ourselves again a country of immigrants. We will educate the least of our kids so that they can feel that transforming power of education and make us stronger. And I'm optimistic because so many times I have seen the impossible look inevitable in retrospect. Back in 2006, when things were going pretty tough for the Bush administration, I read the biographies of the founding fathers. You know, by all rights, the United States of America should actually never have come to be. What, against the strongest military power of the time, with a third of George Washington's troops down to smallpox, the founding fathers squabbling among themselves, but we did. We came in. Hundreds of thousands of Americans dead across the boundaries of North and South, but also across the bonds of brother and brother. We emerged from that a more perfect union. And a little girl growing up in Birmingham, Alabama, the most segregated big city in America, where you couldn't have a hamburger at a lunch counter, where you couldn't go to a movie theater or stay in a hotel. But somehow her parents had her convinced that she might not be able to eat at that lunch counter, but she could be President of the United States if she wanted to be, and oh, by the way, she became Secretary of State. The impossible seems inevitable. Look across the globe. Look at India, where billion people who don't speak the same language, who don't worship the same God, nonetheless somehow matter to have an election and change their governments peacefully. Look across the globe. Look across the globe, where great democracies have risen in Japan and in Korea, places that people once said had no tradition, but now they're vibrant democracies, friends of the United States. Look across the globe, to Baghdad and Basra, to Kabul and Kandahar, still troubled as people search for their democratic future, but where at least girls go to school, and somehow people know that they have control of their future. And look across the globe. Look at Europe, a place where great wars were fought for centuries. But today, it is whole and free and at peace. A Europe where, in 1991 on Christmas night, the hammer and sickle came down above the Kremlin for the last time. A country with 30,000 nuclear weapons and 5 million men under arms, and it is the war. Look across the globe. Look to the United States of America, and you will see so many times that the impossible became the inevitable. And so I'm an optimist. We will find a way to deal with our problems. And this, the most vibrant of democracies, the United States of America, will find a way to re-engage a world that so needs that beacon of hope. And it will be a good thing that we do, because it is vitally important that the freest, the most compassionate, and the most generous country on the face of the earth is also the most powerful. Thank you very much.
Talk with us today, and it's now my honor to present you with our Medal of Distinction. And I think it's significant. On the medal, it shows a black African man being led by a young boy. It was bigotry, and into the light of diversification and unity. That I had commissioned as significant of my year as president of the International Association. Madam Secretary, I'm going to be out of a job pretty soon. And I heard you speak about going from hamburger stand to the Secretary of State. If you decide to move into the big office, I'd like to be one of your campaign managers, and I will guarantee 400,000 Wasn't she terrific? One thing I forgot to tell her backstage, and I know she'll hear me now, is that I'm sure that she would be pleased to know that today we have almost 350,000 Lions also leading our association around the world. And now it's my honor to call my friend back to the stage, past International Director Mike Butler, Chairperson of the Resolutions Committee, for his report.
King Will you uphold the Constitution and bylaws of Liza International and policies of the Board of Directors? Answer, I will. Will you support the purposes of the Association and the Lions Code of Ethics? Answer, I will. Will you exert your best efforts to inspire, lead, and extend the cause of Lions International and its program in every part of your district and throughout the world? Answer, I will. Now, by the authority invested in me as the newly elected president of this association, I confirm your installation as district governors of Lions Club International. That concludes the taking of the oath of office. We have now come to a point each of you have been waiting for all weeks. On the count of three, remember, on the count of three, please sign your spouse or friend to stand and pull off that district governor elected. You've been adorned with. Now then, 1, 2, 3.
Grábame ahí, Nico. Toma, grábame ahí, que le voy a felicitar. Grábame.
¿Te doy dónde?
No, que grabes, que está grabando.
Está grabando.